Uh, Good morning. Today we'll just start with next part, that is a process scheduling. See, when we see the operating system, and already I just told you, the when any program just goes into the execution state, so that becomes a process, right? So now here, if suppose multiple processes are there into the ready queue, then how we can select that the particular process for the execution, so that we'll see here in the process scheduling, because the multiple processes are there and every process wants to execute, but processor only can execute one process at a time, right? Because the we have a single processor machines, whatever the laptops or computers we have right now, so all these are having a single processor. If you are having the multiple processors, then we can execute the multiple processes at the same time. But right now, or the whatever the normally we have the laptops and computers, so they have the single processor, right? So here, one aim is that we know, so our processor should not be idle at any time, right? So that is the one that we care actually, and that processor um, runs or execute one process at a time. So we'll see uh, the process scheduling here, and I'll just tell you the what is the process to schedule that process, what are the schedulers, what are the algorithms. So all I'll just tell you in this. Now see, uh, whatever is the process scheduling task, so that task is of the process manager, that we can say. So that process manager that handles all this scheduling, right? So whatever is the activity of this process scheduling, that is handled by the process manager, and that the process manager takes care only one process can send to the processor to execute, right? So actually, when we see this, so here that operating system maintains these three queues. One is the job queue, second one is the ready queue, and third one is the device queue. So I have just demonstrated here that process of process scheduling. See, this is the job queue, that we can say this is a ready queue, and here we can say this is a device queue. I think in process life cycle I told you there also what is the LTS, STS, and MTS, right? So here, whatever are the processes, all the processes are there into this job queue. You can see here, whatever the processes are there into your system, all these processes are there into this job queue. That is first thing, right? And whatever is this ready queue, so the from all these processes, not all, but from this, so whatever processes wants to execute right now, so all these processes first brings to the ready queue. It means whatever is this queue is having all the processes, these are ready to execute, right? So all these processes kept into this ready queue. And here, that is waiting queue, or we can say the device queue. If suppose any the process is executing into the processor here, and in between suppose that process wants to access any IO device, so in that case what does processor do? That processor sends that process to the device queue. Here you can see here, right? And this processor takes the another process to execute. So whatever is that process it sends for the IO execution, so that will be kept into the device queue. You can see here this is a device queue, right? So once that IO is free or IO is utilized by this process, then it again goes to the ready queue, right? So this is the thing. Now see here again, there are three types of we can say schedulers, right? Here this is the LTS. That LTS means the long term scheduler. This is STS, it is a short term scheduler, and MTS is what? That is a medium term scheduler, right? So these three schedulers are here. So this long term scheduler, what it do? Whatever are the processes into the job queue, So these processes takes from the job queue to the ready queue for the execution. So this is the task of this long-term scheduler. It takes that process from the job queue to the ready queue, right? Getting this? So this is the function of this LTS, or we can say long-term scheduler. And this STS is function is what? The from this ready queue, it picks one process and it sends to the processor to execute. So that is the job of this short-term scheduler. And suppose any process is there, it is executing into the processor. So that process suppose wants to access any IO device. So in that case, that kind of the scheduling is done by the medium term scheduler. If suppose that process here which is executing, so if it needs any IO device, so that will send to this device queue, or we can say IO waiting queue, and that is handled by this medium term scheduler. And if suppose any process completes its execution, then it exits, or we can say that is been terminated. Getting it? So this is the simple flow of the process scheduling. Main thing you just understand here, whatever is this the queue, the ready queue, and this the waiting queue. So that ready queue means what, where it would be present. So this is present into the primary memory, because that we know, if you want to execute any process, or if you want to uh, access anything, so we need to first bring into the primary memory. So all these processes which are present into this ready queue, so these are ready for the execution. So that's why all these are there into the primary memory. So this the ready queue is there into the primary memory, right? And this might be on the secondary, right? And this is also in the secondary, right? But this ready queue, that is present into the primary memory, because without the primary memory we cannot send any process to the processor. That is the thing. Have understood this? Now, already I just told you these are the three schedulers: long-term scheduler, or we can say job scheduler; short-term scheduler, or we can say CPU scheduler; and mid-term scheduler. So this function of this long-term is what? To bring that process from which here, from secondary device, or we can say from the job queue to the ready queue, right? Now the short-term scheduler, so whatever is that ready queue, so that the short-term scheduler schedules the one process for the execution from the ready queue. And medium-term scheduler, so this is actually responsible for suspending and resuming the process. This is kind of swapping. So moving from main memory to disk, or from disk to main memory, right? Because here if you see, this is in the whatever the this execution here. So first it's sent to the primary memory, and from primary to the secondary memory, and from secondary to primary memory. Because see, suppose this is into the secondary memory, now it just accessed suppose that IO device, and it is again sending back to the ready queue. So this ready queue is there into the primary memory. It means from primary to secondary and secondary to primary. So that is been handled by this medium term scheduler. Have understood this? Now here, the consider the multiple processes are here into this ready queue. Now we need to schedule any process for the execution. So for the scheduling, we have the number of algorithms. We'll see the a few algorithms. All algorithms we are not taking here, but the whatever are the important algorithms, that I'll just tell you. The once you understand the concept, then other algorithms you can understand it automatically, right? So here, these are the six the scheduling algorithms. The first one is the first come first serve scheduling algorithm. That second one is the shortage of first, then longest job first, shortest remaining time first, longest remaining time first, and round robin. Now see here, from these six, whatever are the first three, these comes under the non-preemptive, and whatever are these the remaining three, these goes into the preemptive, right? So see, I have just given that the bifurcation also here. Non-preemptive, these FCFS, SJF, and LJF, and preemptive is SRTF, LRTF, and RR. I just told you what is the meaning of this preemptive algorithm and non-preemptive algorithm. Now, first, I'll just tell you the non-preemptive algorithm, right? Now consider here one process is there into the ready queue, that is suppose, sorry, here I have not changed this, right? I'll just change here from ready. This is CPU, from ready to this CPU and terminate, right? Now see here the preemptive and non-preemptive. First, I'll just tell you the non-preemptive. See, suppose this is the ready queue and one process is there. Suppose that process is P1 and that process we need to send to the CPU. Now suppose that process P1 that is sent to the processor. Now what this processor will do? This processor will execute this P1. This will completely execute this P1. And after just completion of this P1, this will terminate this process. This will not the preempt, right? Or it will not switch, we can say. Suppose if you consider this one, so ready state is there. In that ready state, one process is suppose that is P1. That processor has taken that P1 for the execution, and suppose the any other process comes for the execution to the processor, then what that processor will do? This processor, that CPU, will preempt this P1. It means that will suspend that P1 execution. This will not complete that execution of that P1 here. This will send back this P1 to the ready queue, and this processor will take another process for the execution. Getting this? So it means in non-preemptive, once that processor taken that process, so it will completely execute that process and it terminate after just execution. But in preemptive algorithms, so that processor can execute one process, and if suppose any another process comes for the execution, if it is having higher priority, then whatever is the previous process that will suspend, and that process will send back to the ready queue, and whatever is the new process that processor will take, right? So that is nothing but the preemptive algorithm, and non-preemptive is it will completely execute that process. So I think you might understood this preemptive algorithms and non-preemptive algorithms. So these are the categories we can say. The under non-preemptive algorithm, these three algorithms I am taking, and under this preemptive algorithms, these three algorithms I am taking it, right? So I think you might understood this, the preemptive concept and non-preemptive concept. So if you are having any kind of the doubt into this, you can ask me, right? Now we'll just go for the some terminologies related to this. So first I'll just tell you these terminologies. Any doubt? Okay. Now see, these are the some terminologies here into the CPU scheduling or process scheduling. Because when that process goes for the execution, then in that case we need to calculate that arrival time, then burst time, completion time, turnaround time, waiting time, and response time. So in final exam, normally they ask the numerical based on this one, right? So here, first I'll just they tell you that arrival time. So this is the simple that name indicates that arrival time is what? The time at which process enters into the ready queue. That is nothing but arrival time. If you consider this one, so here that moment or the time at which that process enters into this ready queue from the job queue, so that is nothing but the arrival time. Getting this? So the process enters into this ready queue, whatever is that time is nothing but the arrival time. Now burst time is what? the time required by process to execute on CPU. So whatever is the execution time of that process, so that is nothing but the burst time, right? Or we can say execution time also. Only that terminology is different here. The burst time is amount of time required to execute that process on the processor. So that is nothing but the burst time, right? Now completion time is what? Again, that we can understand with that name also. Time at which process complete its execution. Whatever is the time at which that process completes its execution by the CPU, so that time is nothing but the completion time. Getting this? Now here the turnaround time. So this is the new term, this turnaround time. So total amount of time spent by process from coming in ready state to its completion. Getting this? So if you see here in this diagram, suppose one process is there, that is suppose P1, that enters into this ready queue. So whatever is the time which is recorded to enter into this ready queue till that process completes its execution. So that whatever is that time, the total time is nothing but the turnaround time. One simple example I'll just tell you. Suppose you enter into the bank, right? For deposition, or we can say for to withdraw any amount from the bank. So when you enter into the bank, so that entry, whatever is the entry, that is the arrival time that you can record. And suppose you spend some time in queue, right? So that time also you need to consider into the turnaround time, and whatever is the time required to actual the withdraw that amount from that bank, so that time also you need to consider. So whatever is that waiting time, you can see here waiting time, and whatever is the execution time, that you can consider as a turnaround time. That formula is also here, that completion time minus arrival time. So whatever is the difference, that is nothing but the turnaround time. Right? CT is what? This is a completion time. This completion time. This CT is completion time minus arrival time. So whatever is this difference, that difference is nothing but the turnaround time. So you can understand this formula also. Now waiting time is what? So turnaround time minus burst time. I said one that example, when you enter into the bank, so actual time required to withdraw that amount, that is a different thing, but whatever time you are spending into that queue, right? So that is nothing but the waiting time. So here we can say turnaround time is the total difference minus burst time is what? That is the execution time. So whatever is the difference, that difference is nothing but the waiting time. You might understood this. So waiting time, and the response time is the time spent between ready state and getting that CPU for the first time, right? So that is nothing but the response time. Here also, I just told time at which process gets CPU first time, whatever that time at which that process is getting CPU first time, that minus arrival time, right? So that is nothing but the response time. And if you consider that the non-preemptive case, so whatever is the waiting time, that is equal with that response time, that we can say, right? So these are the some terminologies. These are related to this. These are the scheduling algorithms. Now we'll see the non-preemptive algorithm. So first, that algorithm that we'll see here, that is first come first serve. Before that, if you are having any kind of query, just please ask me. Okay. So this is, you can see, I'll just tell you one example. This is first come first serve, that is the algorithm. Now here, that mode of this first come first serve is that non-preemptive, and whatever is that criteria that we are deciding, so that criteria is the arrival time, because first come first serve, this is kind of simple queue, right? And we need to calculate the turnaround time, waiting time, and response time. You can see here. And also we need to calculate that completion time. and that given is what? That arrival time is given and that burst time is here, that is given. And we need to calculate the completion time, turnaround time, waiting time, and response time. So this is the one example. I'll just tell you this example. Now see, as we are considering this FCFS under this non-preemptive, it means whatever that process enters into the processor, so that processor will execute completely that process. It will not preempt that process, right? Or we can say that processor will not the switch that process. That first complete its execution and then it will take the next process. So that is nothing but the non-preemptive case. So I'll just tell you here uh, with example or with Gantt chart. I'll just tell you. Now see, whenever you just solve this, the kind of numerical, you need to consider this arrival time, right? Because that process P1 enters into that ready queue. Suppose that arrival time is the 0. P2 comes at 1. See, don't the consider here unit. You can consider the any kind of unit here. It's, you can say 0 unit, 1 unit or something, or we can consider as time also, right? So at 0 unit, that process P1 enters. At P, that P2 enters or arrives at 1 into the ready queue. P3 at 5 and this as 6. So how we can calculate, and this is the execution time or burst time for these respective processes, right? Now, how we can calculate this? So I'll just first show you this. I'll take the whiteboard here. Uh, that our example is like process number. This is like P1, P2, P3 and P4. And that given is that arrival time is given here. Arrival time is what? 0, 1, 5 and 6. 0, 1, 5 and I don't know. This, the color is being changed. Okay. And burst time, or we say that execution time is also given here. This is P1 needs to execute in 2 units of time. This is also 2 and suppose this is 3 and 4, right? So this is given, you can see. Now we need to calculate that completion time, that we need to calculate. We need to calculate turnaround time here. We need to calculate waiting time. And lastly, we need to calculate the response time, right? So these things we need to calculate here. And I'll just solve this with the Gantt chart. You can see this. So that becomes easy to calculate that completion time and the other. See that it start with 0 always. Now we need to consider that arrival time, and as we are considering that non-preemptive concept, this is the non-preemptive concept. So here every process first completes its execution. Completely complete execution. This will not switch or something, right? Now at 0 time, which process enters into the ready queue? From here you can see. So which process enters at 0 time? You can see here that P1, this P1 enters at 0 time. That arrival time of P1 is 0, right? So how much time that P1 needs to execute, or what is the execution time or burst time for that P1? That is 2 unit of time. So we can consider till 2, this process is there into the processor. P1 executes in 2 units of time. Now suppose in between that P1 enters into the ready queue. Somewhere here, suppose, like here, suppose 1 is there, right? So somewhere here that P2 is enter into the ready queue. So it means after just completion of this P1, that processor will take that P2, because the arrival time of that P1 is 1, and this is somewhere here, but it completes into 2 units of time. So that's why immediately after that P1, that P2 will be taken by the processor. And what is the execution time of this again? We can see for the P2 that execution time is 2. So we can consider this is 2. Sorry, this is 4. Total is 4, right? For this 2 units of time and for this 2 units of time. So that total is 4, right? Now, is there any other process? Now we can see this is completed and this is completed. Now rest are P3 and P4, right? So is there any other process that enters at 4 or 3 or something after 2 and sorry, after 1 and before this 4? Is there any process? So P3 arrives at 5, P4 arrives at 6. So it means there is no any process at 4, right? So that's P3 arrives at 5. So that's why whatever is this one, suppose 4 to 5, that processor was idle. We can consider this processor was idle, right? Now at 5, that process P3 is there into the ready queue. So that processor will take that P3 here. And what is the burst time for this P3? So that is 3. So we can see here 5 plus 3s are 8, right? So P3 will execute at this moment. Now, is there any other process which is there at 4 or before this 4? So we can see here, this is complete suppose. So P4 is there, that arrives at 6. It means before that 8, one more process is there into the ready queue. So that processor can take that P4. So here processor will take that P4 here, and that execution time is 4. So we can say here 8 plus 4 is 12, right? Now this is the sequence of execution of the process by the processor. Only here 1 unit of time that processor was idle. You can see here. See here. Now what we need to do? We need to calculate the completion time, turnaround time, waiting time, and the response time. So completion time is what? Suppose consider the process P1. This is P1. So when that process P1 is completed its execution. If you see here, as this is non-preemptive, so here itself that process P1 is complete that execution. So this time, whatever is this time, this is the time of completion of this P1. We can say, so what is the time here? So this is 2. So we can say for P1 that completion time is 2, right? Now consider the P2, sorry, when that P2 is completed its execution. So here that P2 is completed its execution. So this is 4. So we can say this completion time for this is 4 here, right? Now come for the P3. So what is the completion time for P3? So this one is the completion time of the P3. So you can write here that 8, right? Now for the P4, this is the completion time for the P4. So this is 12. So we can write this 12 here. Now here we can understand the completion time for the P1, P2, P3 and P4, right? Now same way, we'll just go for the turnaround time. Now for the turnaround time here, what is the formula for the turnaround time? That we know that completion CT minus AT, right? Completion time minus arrival time. Now here, turnaround time for P1, right? So for P1, we can say here, turnaround time for P1. So what is the completion time for the P1? So completion time is 2 here minus arrival time is what? That is 0, right? So 2 minus 0, that is 2. Same thing, turnaround time for the P2 over here. So completion time for the P2 is what? That is 4 minus arrival time for the P2 is what? That is 1. So this is 3, right? And same thing we can say for turnaround time for the P3. This is the completion time for P3 is 8 minus arrival time is 5. This is 3. And turnaround time for P4. This is the completion time for P4 is 12 minus arrival time is 6. So this is 6, right? So we can say the turnaround time for the respective processes is like 2, 3, 3 and 6, right? Now what about the waiting time? Waiting time formula is what? So here waiting time formula is the turnaround time minus burst time, right? So this is the formula for the waiting time. Now for the P1, what is the waiting time? What is the turnaround time for this? Waiting time for suppose P1, we can say turnaround time for P1 is 2 minus the burst time is what? That is again 2. So which is 0, right? Same thing we can see for the P2. So turnaround time for the P2 is 3 minus burst time for this P2 is 4. Sorry, turnaround time is what? That is 3 and burst time is burst time is 2. So which is 1. Same thing for the waiting time for P3. So this is again we can say the turnaround time. Here you see turnaround time is 3 and burst time is 3. So 3 minus 3 which is 0 and waiting time for P4 which is the turnaround time for P4 is this is 6 minus burst time is 4, so which is 2, right? So here we can see 0, 1, 0 and 2. Now see, and the non-preemptive, whatever is the waiting time, that same we can consider the response time here and this field, but still we'll just try to calculate here response time so that you will understand whether that waiting time is equal with that response time or what. So response time formula is what? So time at which that process gets CPU first time minus arrival time, right? So suppose the P1 is the process here, consider the P1 process. So when that P1 gets the CPU first time at the 0 time, so this is 0 and minus arrival time is what for this P1? So that is 0, so which will be 0. This is for the P1. Now the response time for P2 is when that P2 gets CPU first time, so at 2. And what is the arrival time for the P2? So arrival time for the P2 is 1, so which is 1. Again response time for the P3. So here when that processor process P3 gets the processor first time, so at 5 minus arrival time for this is what? That is 5, so which is 0. And same thing, response time for the P4, which is, so when that P4 gets CPU first time, so at 8, right? Minus arrival time for this is 6, so which is 2. So you can hear this is 0, 1, 0, and 2. So these two are same. So it means in non-preemptive that waiting time which is equals to response time, right? For non-preemptive case. You have understood this example? This one? So this is what? So this is the first come first serve, right? So if you are having any doubt, you can ask me. Yes. Okay. Then I'll just go for the second algorithm. That second algorithm is shortest job first. I'll just try this one over here, right? So second algorithm is shortest job first, or we can say SJF. And this is again we are considering that is non-preemptive, right? So one example I'll just take over here. That is, suppose here process number, then we need that arrival time and burst time, right? Suppose the 4 processes will consider over here. Sorry. P1, P2, P3, and P4. And arrival time for this is suppose 1, 2, 1, and 4. And burst time is 3, 4, 2, and 4. So this is the problem, right? And we need to calculate again the completion time, turnaround time, waiting time, and response time. So here that same thing we'll just consider here. So criteria is burst time, and whatever is the mode, that is non-preemptive, right? So these two things we'll just consider here, because that name indicates shortage job first. So whichever process is having the shortage job, that will be executed first. Now here same thing, we need to calculate here completion time, turnaround time, waiting time, and response time, right? So these things we need to calculate. Now again, I'll just consider this Gantt chart here. And this always start with 0, right? Now see, it is starting at 0 unit time. So first we need to consider which process comes at 0 unit time. That we need to consider here. So actually, if you consider the arrival time here, so there is no any process which comes at 0 time. It means whatever is this first, that processor would be idle, right? So this is 1. Now, is there any process that comes at the 1 unit of time? So yes, that P1 is there, that comes at the first unit of time. See, we need to consider here arrival time first. Suppose that P1 and its the execution time is what? That is 3. right? Now, sorry, 1 minute, one minute. So we need to check the which process comes at 1 unit of time here, right? So which process? So here the two processes are there. This is the one and this is the second. So we can consider here that process comes like P1 and P3. So these are suppose coming into this queue, job queue, we can say, right? So from this P1 and P3, so which one is having the shortest time, or we can say which one is having the shortest burst time? So if you consider here that P1 is having this 3 and P3 is having this 2. So which one is having the less time? So that P3 is having less time. So that's why that processor will take that P3 first. Getting this? So because this is the shortage job first. And the time required to execute that P3 is 2 units. So we can see here 3. Right? Now we need to check, is there any process that comes at 3 or before 3 and after 1? So if you see here that P2, now here suppose that P3 is gone. Now we have P1 into the queue, right? And one more process that coming into the queue, that is the P2, because this is completed. Now that P2 is having, or the arrival time, that is 2. It means that comes into the ready queue. So that is P2 over here, right? Now, if you compare the two processes are there into the ready queue, so you just compare the burst time of that P1 and P2. Previously, we compared that burst time of P1 and P3, but from these two, we just taken P3, so P1 is already there into the queue. Now again at 3 units of time or before this 3, that P2 again enter into the ready queue. So now the previous one is the P1 and the next one is the P2. So from these two, which process is having shortest time? So P1 is having 3 and P2 is having 4, right? So it means we need to pick this P1, right? So that P1 is picked, suppose, and that burst time for that P1 is 3. So this becomes the 6, right? Now, and in this the ready queue, P2 is already there. Suppose here P2 is already there. Now we need to check, is there any process that enters at 6 or between the 3 and 6? So yes, there is a one process that is the this completed. So that P4 enters into this queue, ready queue at 4. You can see here. So it means we need to consider the P4 here, right? Now you need to compare that burst time of this P2 and P4. So which process is having less burst time? So P2 burst time is 4 and the P1, sorry, P4 burst time is also 4. It means here both processes needs 4 units of time to execute. So now here the time is there. So in that case, if such situation comes here, so you need to consider the arrival time of these two, because that burst time is 4 for this and 4 for this. So as these two are equal, now we need to check arrival time of these both. So which one is having less arrival time or which comes first? So we can see arrival time of this P2 is 2 and arrival time of P4 is 4. It means that P2 comes before this P4. So that's why we need to take this P2 here. And time required to execute that P2 is 4 units of time. So we can say 6 plus 4 is 10. Now we need to check, is there any process that comes at 10 or before the 10 and after 6? So there is no any process. So only one process is there here. We can see that is P4, that is there into the queue, and that execution time for the P4 is 4. So this is P4, it is taken and that become the 14. Have understood this? So this is the CPU execution of the P3, P1, P2 and P4. Now again, we'll just try to calculate that completion time and turnaround time, waiting time and response time here. So as I said, as that the mode is non-preemptive here, so whatever is the waiting time, that same is there, the response time, right? So it means only we need to calculate the completion time, turnaround time and waiting time, right? Now, what is the completion time of P1? When that P1 completes, you can see here, this is a P1 and this completes here at 6. Getting this? So P1 completion time is 6. Now P2 completion time is, you can see here that P2 completes its execution at 10. So we can see here, this is 10. Now P3, so P3 completes its execution at 3. So this is 3. And about 4, so that 4 completed its execution at 14, right? So this one, getting this, that completion time. Now we'll see that turnaround time. So what is the formula for turnaround time here? I'll just write here turnaround time formula so that you will understand here that completion time minus arrival time, right? So for the P1, that completion time is 6 and arrival time is 1. So 6 minus 1 is 5. Again, completion time is 10 and arrival time is 2. So here 8, then 2 and then 10, right? So 3 minus 1 is 2 and 14 minus 4 is 10. Now what about the waiting time? That formula for waiting time is what? Turnaround time minus burst time. This is the formula, right? So waiting time for the P1, the turnaround time is 5 and burst time is 3, right? So 5 minus 3 is 2, then 8 minus 4 is 4, then 2 minus 2 is 0 and 10 minus 4 is 6. And as I said that waiting time and response time is same in this non-preemptive. So this one is this, right? So have you understood this? So this was the example for shortage of first, right? I think you might understood this one. If you are having any doubt, please ask me. So shall I take one more the algorithm, or you have any other lecture or something? Yes. Shall I continue with the second algorithm, next algorithm?
Yes,
Please
sir.
speak. Okay. So I'll take one more and then we'll stop, right? So next one is the longest job first algorithm. See, opposite of this is the shortage of first. Now we'll go with the longest job first. And as that the shortage job and longest job both comes under the non-preemptive, right? So here longest job first, LJF, right? And here also it comes that criteria for this is burst time and its mode is also non-preemptive, right? So I'll take one example. Same that is process number process number, then arrival time and burst time. This is given, suppose. So P1, P2, P3 and P4, four processes we consider, and arrival time is 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that burst time is 2, 4, 6 and 8. So this is your given, right? This is given. This is your problem statement you can consider. And after this, we need to calculate here. I'll just extend the same. The completion time. Sorry. Turnaround time, waiting time and response time. These things we need to calculate, right? So again, I'll take that same, the Gantt chart for this. And that starting time is 0, right? Again, that same thing we need to consider over here. This is, if you understood that shortage of force, and then similar with that, this is only here we are considering the longest job, or whatever is the longest burst time, that we are considering. Otherwise things are simple, right? So here, this is the starting time is 0. So we need to check, is there any process that comes at 0, right? So check arrival time of these P1, P2, P3, P4. Is there 0? So there is no 0, because that arrival time is 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we can consider the CPU is idle for first unit of time, right? So this is idle and this is 1. Now we need to check, is there any process that comes at 1? So yes, that P1 that comes at 1, I'll just write here, P1 comes into the ready state at 1 unit time, right? So we can take this P1, and that burst time for that P1 is 2. So we can say this is 3, right? So now we need to check, is there any process that comes at 3 or before 3 and after 1? So this we have taken, right? Now, if you see that P2 comes at 2 and P3 comes at 3, it means here P2 and P3, these two processes are there into the ready queue. Now here we need to check from these P1 and P3 which is having longest time, right? So P2 burst time is what? That is 4, and P3 burst time is what? That is 6. So which one is having longest time? So that P3 is having longest time, that is 6. So we'll take this P3 for the execution, and the time is how much? That is 6. So 3 plus 6 is 9. Now again you need to check, is there any process that arrives at 9 or before 9 and after this 3? So in this gap you need to find out it actually. So if you see here that P4 comes at 4, it means after 3 that P4 is there. So P2 is already there into queue, that ready queue, and P4 enter into this at 4, right? Now here again we need to check that burst time of P2 and P4. So P2 burst time is 4 and P4 burst time is what? That is 8. So it means that P4 is having longest burst time, so that's why we need to take that P4 here, right? And that time is 8, so that becomes 17. Now This P4 we have taken. Now in queue only P2 is there, because we need to check is there any process that arrives at 17 or before 17 after 9. So there is no any process because all processes enter into the queue. So only P2 is there into the ready queue. So execution time for that P2 is 4. So we can see here that processor will take that 4 P4 process, and the time is 21. At 21 that P4 will complete its execution. Right? Now this is the execution of the processes P1, P2, P3 and P4. Now from this Gantt chart, we need to calculate the completion time, turnaround time, waiting time and response time. Now completion time is very simple. If you consider that P1, so find the time at which that P1 is completed. So here that P1 is completed, right? So P1 is completed at this 3. So we can write this 3. Now P2. So sorry, here this is P2, this last one. So when that the P2 completes its execution, so P2 complete its execution at 21 units of time. You can see here. So here we can write, so 21. Now P3, so P3 completes its execution at the 9. And P4, so P4 completes its execution at 17. You can see here, right? So this is the completion time 3, 21, 9 and 17 for P1, P2, P3 and P4 respectively. Now turnaround time, again I'll just write here the formula for turnaround time. So that is what? Completion time minus arrival time, and waiting time formula is turnaround time minus burst time. This one, right? So turnaround time for the P1, P2, P3 is what? So completion time is 3 and arrival time is 1. Here you can see 3 and 1. So 3 minus 1 is 2, right? Now for the P2, the 21 is the completion time and arrival time is this. So 21 minus 2, that is 19. Now completion time for P3 is 9 and arrival time is 3. So 9 minus 3 is 6. And completion time for P4 is 17 and arrival time is 4. So 17 minus 4, so that is 13. Right? Now waiting time, turnaround time minus burst time. So turnaround time is 2 and burst time is 2. So 2 minus 2 is 0. Then turnaround time for P2 is 19 and burst time is 4. So 19 minus 4 is 15. Then turnaround time for the P3 is 6 minus this 6, so 0. Turnaround time for P4 is 13 minus this arrival time is 8. Sorry, burst time is 8. So 13 minus 8 is 5. And as this is the non-preemptive, so waiting time is equal with the response time. So 0, 15, 0 and 5. I've understood this. This is the longest job first. So I think you might understood these are the simple algorithms. So we have seen here the first one is the FCFS, then shortage of first, then longest job first, right? So these three algorithms we have seen under the mode that is non-preemptive, right? So we'll stop here. If you are having any doubt, you can ask me, please. One minute. So any doubt?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, what is the use of criteria? In one of the question, the criteria is ET, and in another question, criteria is BT.
See that if you see that first algorithm, that is first come first serve. If you consider that the basic property of queue, so what we do in that queue, whatever whoever is come first into that queue, that get first service, right? It means who comes first. So what we consider there, that arrival time into that queue. Getting my point? So there that
Yes,
entry
sir.
is important. Entry is important. But if you consider the longage of first and shortage of first, here what we are considering, the execution time of that processes. How much that time is required to execute. And that execution time is what? That is a burst time. We are not considering here arrival time. Only in FCFS that there we consider irrespective of your the burst time, we are considering their arrival time. But here that execution time is important. Based on that criteria, we are just selecting the process for the execution. Have you understood this?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. Thank you.
Okay. Any other?
Sir, in assignment, sir, what we have exactly do?
Oh, 1 minute. I'll first see the assignments. Which assignment of how many assignments are given?
One, sir, only one.
Okay. Let me check.